If there is one topic I really like to dwell on is the spiritual realm, which can sometimes find itself crossing paths with the paranormal stuff, but it's just, to me, they both have different classifications, and I'm hoping that one day I get around to making a video in which I explain that a little better. I was thinking about certain things that I own and how those things come from other people. I always think about who I got it from or who gave it to me. A thought that I often have is I like to believe that the essence of the person who's giving it to me somehow carries on with that object. But I really have a hard time explaining why I believe that. So, for example, over the years, I've had colleagues who, of course, I was friends with and they have left. And to this day, I still have whatever it was that belonged to them that they just passed on to me. For instance, I have a pair of gloves that belong to one of my supervisors. I have a set of really thin headbands that belonged to one of my immediate colleagues. And I also have hats that belonged to somebody else. And every time I wear all of those things or any of those things, immediately the person who gave it to me comes to mind. Not a single day goes by that I don't think about them. What I mean by the essence of the person carrying on that I don't know how to explain is I don't know if an object that belonged to somebody for an extended period of time, or maybe not at all. Like, let's say that the object originated with them, and when they picked it out, they had me in mind, and therefore somehow there a link is established. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know if it's the psychological effect that it has on me from the perspective of it is impactful to me. It means something to me that someone gave me something, someone thought about me. Therefore, that's what makes me feel like a piece of that person spiritually is attached to the object. I also try to ask myself, if I were to get the exact same object, but from a completely different source, like say I buy it for myself to replace one of theirs that, let's say, I lost, would I still feel the same way? And I don't think so, because I think that at that point, I am creating the memory of giving it to myself. Therefore, it suddenly overpowers the memory of the person who originally gave it to me. I can continue to remember that this object once belonged to someone else, or a style of it, but not that exact one. I can be a person that has, I guess, emotional attachments to objects, but it's not like if I were to lose one, I feel like my life is over. Some people really get severely affected by that, and for me, it's happened to me before. I do feel briefly sad because I always felt a great sense of pride to continue to own something from someone, even if it's been years. Like, for example, this little necklace, I've had this for about 15 years now, and I remember exactly who gave it to me and where I was at. And the memory of me going like, oh, this looks cute. And then that person going like, oh, do you want it? I'll get it for you. Even though this originated with me, it was a thought of somebody else. So had it not been for that somebody else, I wouldn't have worn it. See what I mean? So every time I wear this, I can travel back to that moment. And then I have two more that one of them, my mom got it for me, and then the other one was purchased along with this one, and it also comes from that same person. I was wondering what you guys think. Do you think that objects can possess powers on their own? Is it that the power that they emit for some people, say like me, it's more of the psychological attachment that we have due to the memory that operates in our brains? Or do you think that an object is just that, a stupid object? It just doesn't have an effect of any sort mentally. You could be blocking yourself because of that memory, anything. I really don't know how to feel about it, because now that I'm grown, of course, I like to be logical. There's a side of me that's like, I swear, I just feel some type of way when I'm wielding something that belonged to somebody else. The best way I can describe it is if I were wearing somebody else's armor, and then all of a sudden, the things that I independently could not protect myself from, now all of a sudden, because I have that armor that specialized on that kind of defense, now I can achieve it. But then there's also the part of me that, let's say that I'm wearing somebody's armor that's too small or too big. It would have cracks in its defenses because it wasn't tailored for me. So how can somebody else's armor serve me? See what I mean? I really don't know what to think. But yeah, I thought I would create this topic because, like always, I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say. And maybe this is where my thoughts about this go to die. I'm not sure if upon reading, say, a comment that goes against what I believe in, and it is very compelling, that brings me back to reality, I cannot tell if that's going to change the way I see things. But I don't feel like it's a problem for me. It's just that I'm curious if there's anyone else out there who believes that objects can carry powers. Something else that I like is people's t-shirts. The t-shirts that have been passed on to me. If it was one that someone I saw daily wore a lot, that one makes me feel different. Like, for some reason, shirts, the power I feel from them, it feels different. It's almost like I have the embrace of that person, the blessing of that person. And I also like to think about it more deeply and be like, well, this shirt once encased the heartbeat of this person. So maybe that's where my emotional connection is coming from. Your living energy somehow resided with this object. But I don't know how to phrase it any better than that. I don't know how else to explain it. But that's about it. Do any of you believe in any of that? Because I think it's more psychological, because I'm not sure if I've ever said this like this on the channel, but to me, life is a psychological game, and maybe this is one of them.